Let's move on. The question goes on to say, describe how students would use the equipment shown in figure 1.1, that's the quadrant, to measure the amount of vegetation cover. So to rephrase this question, how does a quadrat work? Well, getting, let me just, so how is it going to be, how are you going to use the quadrat? So let's just understand it. Let's just describe it before actually talking about how it's used. So it's a square and I'm divided into smaller squares. It's a square divided into smaller squares. You should understand that each square here, each square is a mini sample. So you see, you are walking over a large area, the side of a volcanic mountain, side of a volcano, and you are interested in finding out the amount of vegetation cover. You can't scale this whole area. It's impossible. Maybe what you can do though is to sample. You can consider smaller pieces of the area that would act as representatives of the whole. So you can sample smaller areas here. So that is where the quadrat comes in. Each square in this grid here is a mini sample. It represents, say for example, each square is a mini sample. Maybe it is each square represents 1% of the total area, for example, right? So how are we actually going to use this thing? The steps now: place it on the ground randomly, place it on the ground. Number 2, note. What can you note? Well, you can note the presence. We're talking about vegetation cover, so you can note the presence or the absence of a plant, of plants. You can also note the percentage of square covered. Like percentage of the square covered, you can here use terms like, is there dense vegetation in that square? Is there medium vegetation? Or how extreme, is it only bare soil, no vegetation at all? So once more, you should place it. You should place it on the ground. You should just place your grid on the ground, and you should note the presence or absence of plants. Are there plants in here? Also, if there are any plants, you should also note the percentage of the square that is covered. Sometimes the whole square is going to be covered, so it's dense. Sometimes it's going to be moderately covered, so it's medium vegetation. Sometimes there's going to be nothing in there, just bare soil. And then it's important that after noting these things, the third step here is to calculate. Using this information, using your findings, you are going to calculate percentage cover and species frequency. Say you noted or there is a particular type of plant or flower in the square. It also appears in the square. It also appears in the square. So now you are talking about frequency. So after noting the coverage of each square, you can calculate the percentage cover. You can also calculate the species frequency. Lastly, and I argue that this is a very important step, you should repeat elsewhere. You should repeat at each site that you have chosen. You should repeat at each site. Now, regarding our choice for these sites, we are going to be talking about sampling later on, particularly something called stratified sampling. So let's look at this question. What was happening here? We were talking about a quadrat and how to use it. We described a quadrat as a a square that is divided into yet another into smaller squares. Each square represents a sample, a mini sample. Say for example, each square is 1% of the total area that you are interested in. You place the thing on the ground. You're going to note the presence or absence of plants. You're going to note the percentage of the square that is covered, and you can use descriptive terms like dense vegetation, medium vegetation, or bare soil. You can then calculate your percentage cover and the species frequency, and lastly you have to repeat at each chosen site.